Alrighty, hello and welcome everybody. Been a couple days since I've uploaded a video, and mostly because I've been working a lot on this project that you guys are looking at on the screen. As is kind of the theme of this channel is, I want to show games to you guys, show me getting better and kind of my thought process on how to get better. Is one area. The second area that I've started getting into is breaking down some things that I think that my opponent's do incorrectly, or some things that I do incorrectly, specifically in games. And you guys can check out some of those other videos on my channel. It talks about economy management. It talks about starting builds, etc. And then this is going to be the third, probably of four aspects that I'm going to be incorporating into my channel around Supreme Commander. And so what you guys are looking at on the screen is a pretty comprehensive list of all of the land units that are within the game, as well as what their energy costs look like, their mass costs look like, and what build times look like. So the goal here is to have a centralized kind of, and it's not really a database because it's an Excel spreadsheet, but it is going to be somewhat mimicking a relational database if you guys are familiar with SQL, in that I'll be able to pull from these values and then be able to manipulate them in certain forms or fashions. So the goal for this is to use it for optimization testing. So when should you upgrade from like T1 to T2? When should you start upgrading mass extractors, etc.? Instead of the kind of feel-based advice that is currently out there on YouTube, I wanted to put a little bit more concrete on there, where in a kind of in a more sterile environment, what is the ideal upgrade points and what is the ideal unit cost. So today we're going to be talking about, and I've got other things around resource generation in here, and all these numbers will be manipulated later. But today we're going to be talking about adjacency bonuses. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I see a lot of people in my games, and we'll throw some examples up on the screen now, but just kind of dragging T1 power generators just in lines like across the screen. And I'm guilty of this as well. I do this all the time. And it's a kind of a quick and easy way to just get power out there, queue up engineers so that you don't have to worry about it. So today what I'm doing is I've broken down the adjacency bonuses across both power and mass, and what it means at different points with a series of different units. So because Supreme Commander doesn't really allow for I guess it'd be like fractions or decimal points in power usage, I had to take a couple of different samples. Most of these are T3 because they give me the most accurate reading, and then take kind of the mean advantage. So right off the bat, you can see that T1 units, or T1 power and T1 mass, give a slightly lower percentage, with the biggest jump being from T1 power to T2 power, and then a slightly more modest jump from T2 to T3. And then really you see your ideal bonus from a percentage perspective being at the T2 mech side. So today we're going to break down T1 power and what it means for you as far as upgrade time. So the test that we're going to be doing is going to be how fast can we upgrade to T2 on a land factory with a static queue, where mass is not the limiting factor, where power is the only limiting factor. And so I want to see what kind of benefits we get from adjacency bonus with T1 power generators. So we'll go ahead and flip to the scenario right now, and you guys will understand a little bit more about what I mean. Alrighty guys, so let's walk over the kind of the quote-unquote test bed that we will be using today to demonstrate kind of how adjacency bonus impacts things as far as overall real-world timings. So I've set up kind of just a private game here. As you can see, we are negative on the power side. By and large, every now and then, like the unit production will kind of reach a happy medium where we might be +1, but we are negative on the power side, and we are bottlenecking. We are not bottlenecking on mass. And the reason why I want to set this up is because this will give us an accurate representation of the actual benefits of having adjacency bonus versus not having adjacency bonus. So in order to achieve this bottleneck, we've got 2 land factories that are just constantly producing strikers, and we have 2 air factories constantly producing interceptors. The power is going to be supplied by 9 T1 power generators. This puts us at an income of 200 power per tick, with the 9 power generators and then the 20 you get from the ACU. So the only thing that is going to be changing from one test to another is we're going to be moving these 9 power generators into an adjacency, so that we can getting some adjacency off of these T1 power generators. So what we're going to do to kind of benchmark this is I'm going to start a stopwatch. So, and we are going to have this land factory run through building 10 strikers, 2 archers, and 4 lobos, and then upgrade to T2. We're going to time what that looks like from no adjacency versus having adjacency set up from our 9 T1 power generators. So we'll go ahead and kick this off, and we will time lapse from here. Okay, so we have our Tech 2 factory upgraded now, and you know, we have got tons of strikers and interceptors at this point. But anyway, so the results of the test are, it took about 8 minutes and 22-ish seconds, depending on, you know, how long it took me to actually push the buttons on my phone to actually start the stopwatch. So let's flip things around then. Let's take these 9 power generators and let's arrange them around the factory, and then we'll see what kind of results we get. If it is like an appreciable difference, or if it's something that's relatively negligible as far as actual benefits. So we're gonna rebuild our T1 factory. We'll build 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Alrighty. And then after this gets done, I'll go ahead and Control K these, because I don't want to just like power stall horribly bad while I'm trying to redo this and I'm wasting a ton of mass. This will probably be a record for most mass wasted in a game. But let's cue another time lapse here, and I'll be back with you whenever this portion is done. All right, cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick off the same test then, except this time we have 200 energy income, and our power generators have adjacency bonus to the land factory. So we got 10 strikers, 2 archers, 4 lobos, upgrade to T2, and then we will see how this ends up shaking out. All right, so let's just go ahead and start the stopwatch again, and I'll be back with you guys when it's done. Okay, upgrade's done. This one completed in about 8 minutes and 7 seconds. So got about a 15-second upgrade. So not very appreciable upgrade as far as land factory performance if you're setting up this adjacency bonus. So for kind of the last test, and if you guys were paying attention to the energy up here at the top, it was pretty apparent that wasn't going to be a whole lot better. It would be a little bit better, but not that much better. So for kind of the last test, we're going to go ahead and Control K this again. Last thing we're going to do though is we are going to put our power generators adjacent to the air factory. And the reason why I'm going to do this is going to give us the best results from an adjacency bonus. Because remember, if we were looking back at the spreadsheet, these things give a percentage-based adjacency bonus. So whenever we're making tanks or lobos, we're only draining about like 20 energy per second, maybe. It's not an appreciable, it's not a super large amount of energy that's being drained. So we're gonna do this exact same test again, except this time these will drain roughly, I think, a 90, is it right? Yeah, 90 energy per tick to make interceptors. So this will give us, again, kind of the best case scenario for what adjacency bonus can actually give you, and whether it's actually worth your time to actually spend some time setting up adjacency bonus, have this built into your template, or whether you're better off just dragging power generators kind of in lines across the screen. So let me get this finished getting set up, and then I'll be back with you guys in one moment. Okay, adjacency is set up on the air factories, so we're going to send this guy through the same build queue again. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, T2 rally point up there, and let's go ahead and start the clock. And I'll be back with you guys shortly. Okay, so coming back from that test, got some kind of surprising results, to be honest. So that one took 8 minutes and 13 seconds to perform, even though we have bonuses of a more appreciable amount on the air factories. It doesn't seem to have impacted the overall performance by an appreciable amount. I'm going to run the test again just to make sure that I set it up correctly. But I think that this is I would say almost a pretty sound indictment on whether or not, wait a second. Okay, never mind. I believe that I set this up relatively well. I was just looking at the resource values again. So I think that this is kind of a pretty sound indictment on the fact that actually taking the time to set up these power generators really gives you an appreciable benefit as far as upgrade time or as far as unit production, things like that. Like I said, I'm going to run the test a couple more times just to make sure that there was no error in the way that I actually set this up, whether I miscounted or units in the production or something like that. So I'll run the test a couple more times and come back with a final verdict. Okay, so kind of tying together what the tests are telling us. So I did run a couple of other tests. I tweaked the overall load. So I still tried to make it so that we were limited on the power side, kept it to 200 power, but I made it so that it was slightly less negative than it was previously, and it really didn't have an appreciable impact. So really what I think this means is in the early game on T1, you're not really picking up a whole lot of benefit from the adjacency bonus on these T1 power generators. It looks, on paper like you would receive some sort of bonus, even though that is a pretty small bonus. So I don't really think after this kind of testing, it's not really worth your time to go through and set up the adjacency on the T1 power generators. This video is probably long enough at this point, so I'm not gonna go through the T2, T3 hydro adjacency bonuses. I might do a little bit of a much faster test on those to see if the same kind of metrics hold true. But I do want to test a lot of this stuff out and see what kind of results we can get, and then hopefully help you guys out as far as where you guys should spend time, where you guys should spend energy and actions per minute, and where you're actually going to get a benefit from this. So on this one, I think that we can say you're not going to get an appreciable benefit from setting up T1 power generators with the adjacency bonus on factories, regardless of the type of factory, whether it's land factory or air factory. It's not really going to make a whole lot of a difference. So I realize you guys might have issues with the way that I tested this. If you do, leave them in the comments down below. I might do a follow-up video on this, factoring in something that I may have missed. So if there is something like that, please let me know in the comments down below. If you guys like what you see, subscribe to the channel. This channel is really designed to make Supreme Commander a more accessible game, help people learn how to play it, help people learn what are the best ways to do it and improve really quickly. Not a professional by any means. I've said that a lot of times, but I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like to help people where I can get better at this game. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.